Okay, so this is my very early Premier League predictions. They could easily change as we do not know all the transfers, especially the promoted clubs. Now, I believe that the promoted clubs could do really well, like last season's, well, except Burnley, who got relegated. Uh, and the clubs highlighted in blue are Champions League clubs playing in the Champions League for this season. Orange is Europa League, and green is Conference League. This could kind of help me more decide. Okay, so the team that I think is going to be at the very bottom is Hull City. Now, Hull City could get some good transfers, but right now, they only got promoted through the playoffs, which is like basically usually the worst team of the three promoted clubs would get promoted through the playoffs. Or it should be like that. But then now that I'm thinking about it, Sunderland, they went through the playoffs, I think, and they did the best. So maybe Hull City could do better than the other clubs. But right now, I just see them at the bottom. Now the next team is Ipswich Town. They do have Premier League experience. Well, most of the players, I think. But I just don't think they will stay up. And the last relegated team, I think it's going to be Nottingham Forest. Even with some good players, they nearly got relegated. And now that Anderson left for Manchester City, I just think that they're going down. And so 17th, I think, will be Coventry City. I think that they'll barely survive. So, if I'm correct, they were the number one team in the championship. They got first. So I think that they could survive, though I feel like the Coventry and Ipswich Town could just kind of be a toss up between who survives and who doesn't. Though I think Nottingham Forest is going to be the last team relegated. And now the team in 16th, I think Crystal Palace. But because they're playing in the Europa League, and I don't think they've made any like big signings right now. So I just think that they're gonna do worse because for like extra games like being in the Europa League, Conference League, Champions League, you need more players just in case some get injured. But I don't think Crystal Palace has been signing that much more players. In the next club, that the club that will finish in 15th, I think it's Leeds United. I think what is their backup keeper, Darlow, just left for Manchester United. I think that they could just sign a new goalkeeper. But I just don't think that they can do better. And the next team, ooh, this is a hard one, but I'm going Everton. I they've been mid-table, and I feel like some of the bigger teams that finish mid-table can bounce back, especially Spurs, because they have been doing some good transfers. And then the next team, I think Fulham. I think Fulham could go to 13th. Again, another mid table team. But for some reason, they just do quite good. It just seems like they'd be like meh, but they do pretty good for a mid table team, I feel like. The next team, I think that it'd be Bournemouth. Uh, I feel like the Europa League would be kind of like their downfall. If they didn't play in another competition or the a European competition, I think that they could do pretty well. But since they're playing in the Europa League, they just have the extra games. And I think that they've released one of their best players, so that doesn't really help them either. Next, I'm going Brighton. Basically the same. Well, actually, no, not Brighton. They've been doing some good moves, I think. Well, yeah, I'm going Brighton. And also, I'm doing this prediction based on the extra Champions League spot, the fifth place. I think England could not get it, but I just think that their clubs are just too good. Like, Arsenal almost won the Champions League, Aston Villa won the Europa League, and Crystal Palace won the Conference League. So, I think that they're going to get the extra Champions League spot. Okay, so the next team, I think it's going to be Newcastle. They haven't really done much transfers, and I don't think they will do much transfers. Though I do think that they'll do some that will keep them from being lower. But for now, I think that they're being 10th. And next, I think it's Sunderland. I again with Brighton and Bournemouth, they've uh they've done or no they have the Europa League, so they'll get the players more tired or have some more players get injured because of the more games. And then next, I think Brentford could be one of those teams that sneak in. Just for some reason, despite selling like all their good players, they just appear with new players that like are even better. And well, maybe not even better. They're probably like the same, but I think Brentford can qualify for the Conference League. And also, this is being based on if like the top 6 teams can uh can win the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. And I'll also make some changes if I believe that a team could win the Conference League or Europa League, which I'm not sure yet. So the next team I think is Spurs. They'll basically like what Man United done. They've done some pretty good transfers. No, I think that they'll be seventh, and then Chelsea sixth. I just usually how the cycle goes is that how the cycle has been going is that they're mid-table, they go to Conference League, Champions League, and then back to mid-table. So I think they'll get Europa. Well, actually, I'm gonna change that. I'm actually gonna have Spurs in fifth, and then Aston Villa. Because like Chelsea, they kind of been stuck in a cycle where they qualify for Champions League and then they go back down to like qualifying for like Conference League. And I think that they'll basically do the same thing. And then now out of these teams, Liverpool haven't been doing that much transfers, but that could change. But I think with I just I feel like with this situation with Salah leaving, Robertson, Kanate leaving, they won't do as good. And Virgil van Dijk a few years ago was really good, but he's just not the same anymore. And now out of these teams, I think Man City will get third. Let's just assume that their punishment for the 115 or however many charges isn't that severe. Though, well, if the verdict even happens, which who knows. And then out of these two, Arsenal and Man United have been doing some good transfers, and it's not like they've lost their best players like Liverpool. And also for Manchester City, they've lost probably one of the best managers ever. I'm saying this as a Man United fan. So, like, I should be biased to my club and say, like, Alex Ferguson is better, which he is. But Pep is also a great coach. But now that they got Enzo Maresca, I don't think they'll do as good. Okay, so now the team that I think is going to be in second is Man United. They've been sneaky about transfers, so they could just get like another big move. But right now, I just feel like they don't have as much quality as Arsenal. They have good players like Arsenal, sure. But Arsenal just has good players all around. While Manchester United has a little bit of not a good left back or right back. Though I think that they could solve that. I think that Arsenal just has the better players. And now, for me to move on to the reason why I think Arsenal deserves to be in first. I don't think they've made much transfers. I know that the Premier League technically classifies Hincape, or however you pronounce his name, as a transfer, but I'm pretty sure he was on loan at Bayer Leverkusen. So I don't think that counts. Though I do believe that they have good players all around. Maybe the left wing is a little bit of a problem, but compared to other teams, they're just better. And like, unless they manage to bottle it in April, I think that they can win the league by without bottling it. I would say that they would win it by quite a bit, but I'd say Man United and Man City could offer a little bit of a title race. Though I think on like one of the last match days, Man United will barely go ahead of Manchester City. So this is my very early predictions. I could change it easily, but I think that this is what the or the the table is gonna look like. I'm not even sure if I want to do the championship next. That is like a mess. Like, who would have guessed Ipswich Town, Hull City, and Coventry City would be promoted, and Leicester City would be relegated? And Southampton, wait, no, they managed to get into playoffs. I know that they did bad at first, but I think that Southampton might do a little bit worse because of the Spygate scandal or whatever. And who else did surprisingly bad? I can't remember. Was it the other promoted club? Or relegated club to the championship? No, that was Ipswich Town, right? I can't remember. But this is just my or why was I about to say transfers again? This is my predictions for the Premier League. Though I haven't gone over who I think would qualify for Europe. So Brighton is in the Conference League. I think that they've been doing some good transfers, I think. And since Premier League clubs usually dominate, I'm gonna have Brighton qualifying. Or, yeah, qualifying for the Europa League. And then the other team had a Sunderland and who? Bournemouth? Yeah. I think Bournemouth could win. They've been doing pretty good, so I think they could qualify for the Champions League. And they almost qualified for the Champions League over Liverpool, I think, last season. So I think that they can qualify for the Champions League, of course, through winning the Europa League. And I do think that Sunderland, despite been overperforming over what people would think, I think that they'll barely miss out on Europe, and so will Newcastle. Kind of funny how the rivals won't qualify for anything, and like they're the only clubs. And there could be some. Wait, no, there can't be a rule against what teams could qualify, right? Because I'm not sure how the rules work. I know 6 Premier League clubs have qualified for the Champions League, and I know 3 Premier League clubs have qualified for the Europa League, but I'm not sure what would happen if both were true. Though, I think that this would be the table. Okay. Goodbye. May God bless your day.